Alright guys, how's it going? Nick and
Hello.
here from Eyerus Games doing Eyeruscast again, the
Eyeruscast,
a break
definitely
for a
not
month,
weekly
and
cast.
the only show that takes a break for a month and then comes back like nothing ever happened. It's
And
regular,
then we changed
regular.
the formula
It's only been a week.
completely.
Yeah, so instead of talking about video games and all that comes with it, we're just gonna narrow it down to Pokemon cards because we are now addicted. 100%.
Pretty much so. I don't even have a job and I'm
and it's
spending
not
money left and right.
So we recently got into Pokemon cards. How long ago was that?
I'd say like pretty
Month?
much around Christmas
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
And we've spent about $1 million?
Well, you have like more than twice the amount of cards that
I buy lots of packs and singles and singles and singles. So
singles,
short.
ladies.
Long story short is we buy a lot of cards, and this is all we think about now, day in and day out, is Pokemon.
Pretty
So we
much,
thought instead of just thinking it in our heads and talking to ourselves like a bunch of crazy people, we'll talk to nobody on the internet like a bunch of crazy people.
Wow,
So-
wow.
So, I think we should start off talking about what we know in the game so far, like, because we're not experts or anything, right? Like, we haven't been playing for 10 years, and
Yeah.
we haven't been around the scene or whatever. So we're just like, I'd say average players is what we are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like intermediate. Like we know a lot about the game. You come from a pretty heavy Pokemon background anyway.
I do quite a bit.
You've got like
I played a lot of like competitive actual Pokemon, like the actual game itself, like IV training and all that. Mostly online at Pokemon Showdown, but it's a lot different. Like
it is different, but and also that brings up another point, is that the game itself as a card game is a lot different than other card games. Because I played a lot of Hearthstone, and I used to play Magic, and by play Magic I mean it's when I was in like grade school, and you would just like always pick the coolest cards, and you wouldn't care about.
That's what I did with Pokemon.
You wouldn't care about the treat cost or anything. You'd just be like, I get to play this one now. Like, so I wouldn't really count that. But I know like how to play Magic and Hearthstone stuff, and I like the Pokemon game because it's so different. Because every other card game, the player always has a pool of health, and that's the point. So like, so you can like skip over cards and attack the player and stuff. But this one, going back to the actual video game, you basically have 6 lives. Your cards
6
are
lives.
all in a
That's a good
pool, so you have
description.
6 prize cards. Every time a Pokemon dies, your opponent takes one of his prize cards, you run out, and he wins. That's the most common way of winning. There's that, there's decking out, and
there's losing all your cards in play.
Yeah. But the most common is definitely the prize card one. All right, so let's just do a real quick rundown of our decks, because I think our decks are still, they're
in
so
development.
close. They're so close to being done, but they're also kind of cheap. Like we didn't just buy.
Well, mine is kind of shitty, really, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think
my new one's gonna be cheap
it's
as
a good
hell.
starting deck, but it's not.
It's a good way to start off with cards because none of them are all that rare.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's what I was gonna say. But then there's a couple of cards. Just talk about your Night March deck and explain what.
Night March, very popular on the online game, like the online TCG. Because it's super easy to get. Because all it is 3 sets of basic Pokemon from the same packs, and they're really easy to get. They're all common except for one. And you can basically trade like anything for them because everybody at least has one. And all you need is 3 sets of 4 of Pumpkaboos from Phantom Forces, Joltics from Phantom Forces, and Lampets from Phantom Forces. And they all share a common trait in that they know Night March. Night March is a move that does 20 damage times the number of Pokemon in your discard pile that know Night March. So basically you use an item called Battle Compressor, which lets you pick Pokemon from your deck and put them in the discard pile, and then only 3 Pokemon from your deck and
pick
put them in
any
the discard
3
pile.
cards,
and that's an
pick up
item,
to
not a
3
supporter.
cards.
So basically, what you want to do is get as many of those as possible and try to get as many Night March Pokemon in your discard pile as possible, and then you just rack up the damage, a maximum of 220. And you also put Mew EXs in there because they can learn. They can use any move of any Pokemon on field, yours and your opponent's. So, like, because the Joltik and Pumpkaboo and well, you can't even play Lampet because it's a stage 2.
Yeah. The
but
Light Pant's only
their
there for
HP is
starting.
very, very low, so you need to use Mew EX so that you can sort of just use a tanky guy who doesn't get killed in one hit from literally anything.
Yeah, because Joltics have 30 HP, so...
20, yeah, they have 30. Do they
Yeah.
have 20? Yeah, they have 30.
No, I think they have 30, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the Night March deck. It's very...
It's really easy to get. It's all one pack except for the Mew EXs.
Yeah.
And there's like a lot of like versatility with it. I have Flareons in my deck, but you can also put Gourgeists and a new stadium called what is it called?
Shroud of
Found in
Memories.
Shroud of Memories.
Yeah,
That's what.
which
it is,
lets you use any attack from the previous evolution.
So you can
use
evolve your
Gourgeist.
Pumpkaboo, and you can use Night March with your Gourgeist. And,
And
Pumpkaboo has 200 HP if you give him a Grass Energy.
Yeah, Gourgeist, yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a question, actually. What happens if two Night March decks are facing off against each other, and you have a Mew EX that uses the opponent's Night March? Does it count for your opponent's discard pile or your discard pile?
Counts for your discard pile. Whatever move you use, it.
Yeah.
So if I was to use X-Ball, well, X-Ball's not a good example.
Yeah.
If I was to use like, I don't know, some attack
Sacred
where like you
Sword.
have to discard an
Keldo's
energy,
Sacred Sword.
or let's just say a move where you had to discard an energy and then you do 30 plus damage. If I don't have an energy in my hand, I can't just say,
Okay.
"Do you have an energy in your hand?
Okay.
Discard it, please."
Okay. Alright, fair enough. Alright, so that's the Night March deck, the deck that runs rampant online.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
you
not
don't need
rampant.
it. Not
It runs
rampant, but
we'll talk about what
we'll
runs
talk
rampant
about,
next.
We'll talk about that one later, but I'll just quickly talk about mine. Mine's a very basic deck as well. It's the Blastoise Keldo deck.
Don't
Basically,
say Keldo, it's Keldeo.
Keldio, whatever. I just think Keldo sounds cooler. It sounds like
does
a
not.
Japanese anime. It's like...
Exactly what
That's it. That's it. I got it. All right. So Blastoise Keldeo deck, where the whole point is to use Blastoise's ability, which is Deluge, which lets you play as many water energies as you want, or sorry, attach as many water energies as you want during your turn, and in combination with Keldo's, with Keldeo's attack Sacred Sword, which is 3 colorless energy, but it does 20 more damage for each water energy you have attached to it. So the whole point is to just load up Keldeo in one turn, basically, because if you have Blastoise out, you can just attach 3 water energies, do 110 damage instantly. Or, you know, you can stack them up with 6 if you want and do 1 billion, but
Yeah.
the whole point is basically just to set up Blastoise and then have 3 or 4 Keldeos and just kill everything that you see.
Yeah.
And mine's a lot easier to explain because it's very basic.
Yeah, and it's good because it's not super easy to start up because you need to get that.
Yeah, if you don't have Blastoise, you pretty much don't
then
do it.
you're not really. I mean, like Keldeo
Or
does a
it'll
lot of damage because it's an EX, but
Yeah, but it'll take 3 turns to set up for Keldeo if
Yeah.
you don't have Blastoise. So
mm,
Blastoise is really important in the deck because even if you don't get Keldeo for whatever reason and you only have Blastoise, his attack's not that bad. It's 4 colorless and it does the same thing as Keldeo's. It'll still end up doing less damage, I think. But like if you're in a pickle, if you're some sort of Velasic, then you'll still be okay, I guess.
Yeah.
But since we're on the topic of decks, let's talk about Neil's favorite deck in the whole world, which is the Donphan deck that's
Ooh,
running
boy.
since Furious Fists came out with all the fighting energy bullshit, with all the buffs they gave.
I'll
the
talk
fighting
about that
Pokemon.
later too. I'm
Yeah, 'cause
very
I hate
mad about that.
But so this Donphan deck, the whole point is to get Donphan out. Uses what's the attack? It's not rollout, is it?
Hold
it's,
on. Yeah, I think it's like spinning return or
It's
something.
something. It's like rapid spin or something like that. But anyway, the point is it does 30 damage and you switch it with a Pokemon on your bench. But it doesn't just do.
it's called.
What's it called, sorry?
It's called spinning turn. Yeah, you're right.
Spinning turn, yeah. So the whole point is that it does 30 damage and then you switch to the Pokemon on your bench. But it doesn't just do 30 damage because if you have
40 damage by the way.
it does 40.
40 damage
40?
and costs
Okay.
1 energy.
Yeah, that's the thing. So it's 1 energy, and if that energy is a fighting energy, that's another 20 or 30 damage right there. It's another something, let's just say 20 damage.
Yeah.
So you attach
with
that, and then you have Muscle Band, which is another 30 damage. And then let's say you're going up against an EX, just so I can make my point sound better.
Yeah.
If you're going up against EX and you have Fighting Stadium, that's another 30 damage right there. So that's like minimum 90 damage, even if you just have the energy and the Muscle Band. You have 90 damage, and then the point is you switch out to a Robo Substitute. And Robo Substitutes are these item cards that only have 30 health. You can't attack, you can't retreat them. So once they're in their active spot, they're basically there to die. But if your opponent kills them, they don't take a prize card. So basically, it's like the biggest stally. I don't even know what to call it, because you just attack, do 90 damage, switch to Robo Sub. They're like, well,
that's the thing, though. It's a mix of stall and massive damage.
That's why. And it wouldn't even be that bad if it wasn't for all the bullshit fighting cards that there are.
Yeah. No, because like I said many times before, don't make a pack that focuses on one type. They screwed it up with Dark Explorers because they made it all dark, and then dark over-centralized the thing because everybody had dark because there was a bunch of cards that made dark better.
Yeah.
And they did it again with Furious Fists.
Yeah.
Just don't do it.
What would you rather them make expansions of then? Like, what would you...
I would rather just see an array of different things where every single one has good cards. I know that's hard to design, but I want to see something where each type has some neat little niche that it has. Like in the new deck, Primal Clash, Dark was completely ignored. There's 2 Dark cards.
Yeah, I know.
One of them that's the worst EX I've ever seen, and another one that's Crawdon.
But then, don't you think it would get flooded? Like, don't you think X and Y would be flooded with a whole bunch of different types? I think instead of just one, just do 2. Like, Primal Clash did a good job of actually
maybe 3. I'd say 2 is a bit too over-centralized. 3 would be good.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is if you make too many, then you're gonna run out of Pokemon. First of all, like if you in standard rotation, you have Black and White and X and Y. So, like, just trying to get Pokemon just from that era or whatever, like, not even talking about reprints, because there's barely any, like, there's a couple, but, like, from other previous sets. But I just feel like you'd have, like, 3 different types of Tyrannitars or whatever. And it'd be, like, the Tyranitar from X and Y Primal Clash versus the Tyranitar from X and Y Furious Fists. Like
yeah.
I feel like it'd get too much. But if you had 2, it could be, like, because I think Primal Clash did a good job of making water powerful, but also actually it had a lot of leaf Pokemon, but really good leaf Pokemon too is what I found, like especially with Trevenant EX and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think they should just try to at least make and because then with Primal Clash the way they did it was like Kyogre, Groudon, right? The big fire water thing. They should try to focus on stuff like that. Like have 2.
And I guess if they made like focus on 2, then focus on another 2, then focus on another 2, then focus on another 2, you'd cover all your bases.
That's what I mean. You'd cover all the energies. That's what I'm talking about. You'd get at the end of the rotation, not the end of the rotation, but the end of the set, you'd have like a really balanced. Well, I mean, we don't know it'd be balanced, but quote unquote balanced set, which at least strong Pokemon from every type. So that's what I see there. Can we quickly? I want to quickly bring this up because I know you want to talk about EX cards and stuff, but we're on the subject of balance. I was just thinking today, how hard is it to balance a card game? Because the only way to balance a card game is to have foresight.
Change the rules, or
to have foresight. Like you have to. Yeah. Because once you've printed a card that's OP, you just gotta go whoops. Yeah. I guess you're stuck with that. Like
and you can't just print a counter because then everybody's just gonna run that counter or run the other card.
That's the thing that makes so like games like I don't know, League of Legends is the only one the only other game I play nowadays anyway. So, but with games like that, or even some fighting games do it. Most don't though. Most tend to just do the Pokemon way where they put something out and leave it for 20 years, Melee. But with like League of Legends, they have patches, right? So if something's broken, they just go, whoops, let me fine tune that number. Like what if they, made fighting energy give you less extra attack or something? Like they can't make those little changes.
Yeah,
because either they reprint the card with different text and then everybody who has that card is screwed because they have to get it again, basically.
Yeah.
It's a big mess with that. That's why I always I get mad sometimes when I see broken stuff or like broken EX cards, but then I feel like I don't know, it's not really their fault. Like it's their fault for making it.
It's their fault because they gotta have foresight in these things.
Yeah, but you have to have a lot of foresight because
that's true, yeah.
Because sometimes you could even because people, especially when you mix from different sets, like people mix from Plasma Blast and X and Y, right? So it's hard to imagine when you're making a Plasma Blast card that you're like, oh, this ability is going to be really broken with a card that we're going to make in 2 years or whatever. You know what I mean? So that's why it's so difficult to keep on top. Because
it's true that Donphan didn't come from Furious Fists. It comes from Plasma Storm. Yeah. So they probably they probably didn't think back and figured
Yeah,
that
exactly.
maybe
They were looking at the cards in the set and were like, okay, this won't be too bad, and they didn't realize.
I mean, RoboSub makes it very good, but I feel like they just thought RoboSub was a good way to stall, which is another thing that hasn't really been around at all in Pokemon TCG. Is just stalling. It's all about just like who can get the most power.
It's all about upfront damage and it's like that because you only have 6 tries to kill the other guy.
Yeah.
I mean, like in other games, you can stall out the board and like. In Hearthstone, you can like set up taunts and stuff where it literally exists to like stall out the game.
No, but even in Pokemon, it's like if you can stall, you can set up something really fucking good in your bench, but it doesn't matter because there's no card that can stall the massive damage that everybody's churning out.
Yeah, like it's pretty much the way I feel like it is now is it's battle of the one-hit KOs. Is who can get a one-hit KO faster or fast enough, right?
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, that's pretty much the video game.
It's pretty fun.
No,
I don't
fun.
know. That's definitely not the video game. I would not go as far to say that.
Because I feel like every time I've played it, you have to have like you do have walls and stuff, but the way to like I don't know. Every time I feel like you would have walls, and then you'd have 1 or 2 Pokemon that could one-hit KO things, and the whole point was to take your walls.
You have sweepers and stuff like that, but you also have Pokemon like Gliscor, which can just decimate a team just by sitting there and substituting and toxicking.
Sounds like Don Fan.
Yeah.
Substitute. Try and attack. That's the attack now. Don Fan used try and attack, and they won.
Spinning turn.
There's no Don Fan EX, right?
No.
Okay.
At least not in the standard rotation.
What are some of the Mega Pokemon that don't have EX cards now? That will be very soon. Like I think Sharpedo, right? Doesn't have an EX.
No, Sharpedo has an EX. He's the only Dark type.
Or Mega attacks.
They don't have Mega Evolutions? Yeah. And you think they're going to get Mega Evolutions?
Yeah.
None of the Hoenn starters, which I was very surprised by.
No, I mean like the Pokemon that have Mega Evolutions but don't have the cards. Like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, none of the Hoenn starters have EXs or Megas.
Yeah,
which is very weird.
Yeah, that's right. And usually those are like really popular ones, like Hoenn starters, like those.
No, but I feel like they'd start with that with Primal Clash. They'd be like, new Primal Clash. What are we going to be our Megas?
That's true.
Like in the first, like in X and Y, they were like Venusaur, Blastoise, and Charizard, and that makes sense.
Yeah. I don't know. It's that whole Primal Clash makes me really happy because they were so close to making cool cards, and then they're like, let's just give Torchic an ancient trait, instead of Blaziken.
Let's talk about. Let's move on to the topic that's
okay. All right. Okay. So we're gonna talk about the big thing is sucking dick. We're gonna talk about
very nice,
very nice, well meaned, my friend. 10 out of 10. All right. So the big thing that we're gonna talk about is the power, the sheer force of EX cards, Neil, in this.
And how they change the metagame completely.
Yeah. Because, I mean, have you ever seen a deck? I think there's one deck I could think of that's like popular, besides Donphan, because I don't count him as a person, that has no EX cards. And that's, I don't even think it's in rotation anymore. The Dusknoir Empoleon deck, where the whole point is you get Empoleon with a full bench and just move around damage with Dusknoir. But other than that... like Genesect, Virizion, what's the Darkrai Mewtwo, I think is another big one there.
Another one,
pretty much, you could think of an EX card and there's a really good deck around it. Like,
or you could think of a deck that has no EX cards, and then you'd be like, well, why don't you put this EX in it?
This
makes it
like
a million times better.
Exactly. So Neil has an idea. What's your idea onto how to fix EX cards?
My idea is two things. You make it back to what it was in Generation 4 with level X cards. And those were cards where instead of just being able to place it on another card, it was sort of like Mega Evolution, where you had to get up to the Stage 2 Pokemon or Stage 1 Pokemon or whatever, and then you would attach the level X card to that other card, and that wouldn't take a turn unlike Mega Evolution.
Yeah.
And whatever that level X card is, it can use all the moves of its previous previous Stage 2 Pokemon. So not only does that make it so that nobody can just instantly play an EX card,
Keldeo on the first turn,
but it also means that they're gonna have to like prepare for it. So if they want to place a Mewtwo EX, then they have to place a Mewtwo first. I would also lower the HP on Mewtwo EX because it's a basic. And it would also make it a bit more versatile because you could use some of the ones from previous. So if there's 2 different Keldeos, you might be able to use 2 different things. So it would add a bit more, like, it would make basic legendaries and stage 2 Pokemon more, like, interesting. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because instead of setting up for an EX, you could set up for a stage 2 kind of thing.
And my other idea is that when you place an EX Pokemon, you have to discard a bunch of cards, like 4 cards, 5 cards, something like that.
Okay.
So you can't just place down an EX card and then attach a muscle band, or for Nick, place down Keldeo and then attach a shit ton of water energies.
30 water energies.
Because like, or for me, actually that would be really good for me, because I could just place down Mew EX and then discard
a whole bunch of.
But still.
But anyway, that's
there needs to be some repercussion to playing it, because the fact that they're basic and you can just slam it down anytime you want with no repercussion makes them way too good.
Like you can just Ultra Ball an EX card, or you know what I mean. Like you can just
Ultra Ball an EX card. And now with repeat balls, if you have 4
that's true.
Mewtwo EXs, just get repeat balls, and then you can just get more of them. Repeat balls are going to be big, by the way.
Repeat balls are going to be cool. I like the repeat balls. I got a reverse one. Wow. I can sell it for $1 million, Neil.
Dude, probably like 35 cents.
Yeah, I know. All right, so your idea is to bring them back to the level X days.
Yeah.
Where it costs...
When they were a lot more balanced.
Yeah, where you have to set up for EX cards instead of just whipping it out, showing it to them. So you can't just show me that. And then you say, fuck you. And then you just win the game because you're Mewtwo EX first turn. So that's definitely one. So that's taken the way of like stalling and setting up and like getting people to, you know what I mean? Like trying to elongate the game. I have a couple of points here. Let's just read through them. So giving higher health to stage 1 and stage 2 Pokemon. So, and like bring it up to like the levels of EX cards. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, good idea.
Because then that way... it would stall out the game just because you have higher health, but then it would also mean that while you're setting up, you can't just get destroyed by an EX card.
Yeah, you know because the only way to get a stage 2 Pokemon is put an EX out on your active Pokemon
while you're setting up
the bench. Yeah,
exactly. So giving, and when I mean higher health, I mean like higher health. Like like I'm thinking about it, and
like think of the highest health stage 2 Pokemon you can.
It's like 160 or 180
I'm looking at one right now, and it's Chestnut. Chestnut's probably the best stage 2 Pokemon there is in X and Y. Not X and Y the entire game, but X and Y the actual the pack. And its HP is 160. Yeah, 160. That's 10 less than the usual EX Pokemon.
Yeah, I don't think there's one with 180. I'm trying to think. Maybe like a whale.
Maybe like Wailord.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Standard location. Like,
but I was thinking like how would you think stage 1 Pokemon average 100 and stage 1 Pokemon average 120 health, something like that, and then stage 2 Pokemon average 180 to bring it up
180.
Bring it up to EX level. So basically, you're setting up for an EX card. So basically, the whole point is I shouldn't have just said higher health. I should have said just make stage 2 Pokemon beefier. Make them basically like an EX card.
See, I would do that, but do the opposite, as in lower the HP of EX Pokemon. I'm all about nerfing the EX Pokemon.
But then that brings us in the whole line of one-hit KOs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, then you're right.
Because I sort of want the game to last, not the game lasts longer, but I want to set up and then not just send it out for one turn and then like that's it. Like I want to set up and like see if you can do interesting plays and stuff. Like that's what I like about is all like the different plays you can do, especially with supporter cards and all the cool items that they have now. So I just want everybody to have super high health so that, you know, Mewtwo EX won't one-shot me. But the other one I had is, what did I say? Yeah, so get rid of EX cards. So give all the power of EX cards to stage 2 Pokemon. So like, let's say EX Blastoise or whatever would have like the same power, like he'd have just as much health and he'd do like, you know, roughly the same damage or whatever, and then have all the Pokemon that would be like a basic EX, you know, like a Mewtwo or a a Lugia or whatever, you know, like one that doesn't evolve
Yeah, yeah.
or anything, so that they don't still stay the way EXs are. Make them legendary cards, and you can only have one type of legendary card per deck, like an item or a supporter or something. So you have to choose. So basically, they're still going to be pretty powerful because they're going to be like they are now. They're EXs that you can just place down without having to evolve or anything.
Yeah.
But you can't combine Mewtwo and Keldeo or whatever. Or I guess you still could, but you'd have to. No, you couldn't. You couldn't combine Mewtwo Keldeo.
Yeah.
So basically, they become like a supporter or something, like in the way of, you know, you can only have 4, not because they'll help you out or anything, but.
No, that's smart because. Like, I thought you were just going to say take away EX Pokemon and make them, like, basic, just regular basics. And I was going to be like, well, they're never going to do that.
Yeah.
Because they want the excitement of
exactly.
getting an EX Pokemon.
Exactly.
So that legendary idea fixes that.
Mm-hmm. And, like, you'd still be excited, because there's still rare Stage 2 Pokemon, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You'd still, and they could still make, even if they wanted to still make them, like, call them EXs or whatever. You know what I mean? But they'd still have to
just give
evolve.
them cool art. Don't even give them a name.
Yeah, like, but the point is that if it's a Stage 2 Pokemon in the game or a Stage 1 or whatever, you'd still have to evolve it. It would just be really strong. You could still call it an EX if you want, but the point is you'd have to evolve it. So anyone that wouldn't have to evolve is a legendary, and you can only have one of those in your deck. So they'd be like still really strong. Like it'd be like a Mewtwo. So you couldn't have Keldeo and Mewtwo in the same deck. You could have a Blastoise and a Mewtwo or something. So you'd like really want to get that legendary out, but then if it dies, then you're screwed because you can't just fall back on another EX. You have to like try to set it up and stuff. So that's what I like with that. Also, this is another point I just saw. It doesn't really have anything to do with an EX. I mean, it might, because it might still bring up talking about Stage 2 Pokemon, but I think there should be more of the same abilities. Like more stage 2 Pokemon should have an ability, like almost everyone. Because in the game, that's what I love about the actual video game. You know, trying to combine the different abilities with Pokemon with the attacks they have, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's a big thing to... If you get a Pokemon with the wrong ability, you're like, well, this is absolutely useless. Like, why do I want to play this?
Like the whole fact that they added hidden abilities made a huge change.
Yeah.
Because Pokemon that were never useful before got abilities that other Pokemon had that made them really good.
So do you think that what would you like to hear more? Have like a lot of Stage 2 Pokemon have an ability? Or would you like no Pokemon but Stage 2 has an ability? Like there won't be any like
I feel like
Squirtle abilities.
I feel like having too many abilities will sort of screw something up.
Yeah.
So keep the really good abilities, like the Blastoise abilities, to Stage 2 Pokemon, but like keep like the sort of lower level abilities to the lower ones.
Yeah, because there's a lot of abilities that are like garbage, but just because it's an ability, like you don't have to, it's not an attack or anything, it's like, okay, that's okay. So yeah, I can see that, because then that also gives a chance for the basic and Stage 1 Pokemon to have a fighting chance, right? Like it just gives them a little something extra. And the other thing, going along with that point about the abilities, I want there to be more of the same ability. I hate how there's only one card that has that ability. Like, why can't there be a Blastoise and a Venusaur that do the same thing? You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be that example, obviously, but like, why does Blastoise get a really good ability, but Venusaur doesn't? So Venusaur is useless. Like, you'll never use Venusaur ever.
Venusaur has a great ability in Dark Explorers, though.
Oh well, I mean, like, I'm just using that as an example. I don't.
Yeah, I don't mean.
But so like, what if there was two Pokemon that had Deluge? You know, there's a Blastoise for your water deck, or there's a Venusaur for your grass deck. So you could like combine and make different and combine Pokemon's abilities and stuff, and that would bring more Stage 2.
Type centralization as well.
Yeah,
because it just makes a certain type really good if only one type has that amazing ability. Exactly. And like you say, we can spread it across a bunch of different releases of boosters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Alright, I was going through my old cards the other day, and I found, well, not the other day, when I started Pokemon, I was going through my old cards, seeing if some of them were just reprints of new cards, and I found a double Rainbow Energy card from old, like, I think it's Generation 3 when that came out. Yeah, there's EX Crystal Guardians and EX Team Aqua versus Team Magma. I have the Team Aqua versus Team Magma one.
Primal Clash!
So I'm really, really, really hoping that they reprint this, because as we've been repeatedly saying, they need to give some kind of boost to Stage 2 Pokemon. And Double Rainbow Energy would do exactly that. Because, basically the card text says, Double Rainbow Energy can be attached to only an evolved Pokemon, excluding Pokemon EX. While in play, Double Rainbow Energy provides energy to every type of energy, but provides 2 energy at a time. So, what that does is it's like a double colorless energy,
but
so it adds, but it's any energy.
Yeah.
So if you needed 2 leaf energies, then they would be 2 leaf energies. But if you attached another leaf energy and you needed a fire energy to complete one attack, then it could become that as well.
Does it let you change whenever you want, or do you have to commit?
Yeah, it's every energy.
Okay.
It's every energy.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
So it's like any energy you want, it'll be that. So that's really good because it gives a boost to not only Stage 2 Pokemon, but the shitty dragon types that are in the game.
Yeah, that's what we'll talk about after you're done this.
Okay.
Dragon types are just the worst.
Dragon types just don't really need to, I don't know. They seem like a shittier colorless. You know what I mean?
That's exactly what they're the opposite of colorless. Instead of being able to put every deck,
they need to go in a deck that has 2 different types, which are growing more and more rare.
Yeah.
Because it turns out that one type is better than all the rest, as we said before. And they're always Stage 2, so you need to take a while to get all the way to the top. And honestly, once you get there, they're not that great.
Not that great. Like,
they're really not that good.
There's colorless cards that do the same thing, that are basic, like Bouffalant or whatever is like the same as.
Unless they have an ability, you're not going to do it.
Yeah.
And the fact that you have to put 2 different energies and you have to make sure you have the right energies in the right hand, it ruins the whole thing.
It's what it is. It's a reverse colorless. Instead of being able to put it in any deck, you have to find the most concentrated specific deck ever to like put them in.
Yeah.
It's just like
so that's how Double Rainbow Energy would fix that, because you can just put that on and now your Hydreigon has both a psychic energy and a dark energy. Or say you only have psychic energies and you need 2 dark energies, well there you go. That's 2 psychic energies and it's right there.
Exactly.
So that fixes that whole centralization and it makes them more useful. And it also makes Pokemon EX have a disadvantage.
Exactly,
they
it cuts
can't
them
use
down
these
a bit.
cards.
Yeah. I think that's I don't know. I think that's getting too deep into it, talking about items that only like Stage 2 evolved Pokemon can use. Like, do you think they should bring in more of those, or do you think they should sort of leave it the way items are? Because I don't know how I feel about that.
Energies are good.
Energies
not
like
so much.
Yeah,
because
the items thing.
And energies make more sense because you're attaching them to Pokemon and they only have one use. Items sort of seem different because, like, the moment you get an item, you usually want to use it. Like, if you get roller skates, you're probably going to use it right away.
Yeah, but like Pokemon tools. Like, what if you couldn't attach? Like, what if you couldn't attach a Muscle Band to EX?
Yeah, that makes sense. Because like it's deck specific. Like, it's not like you just put that in a deck that's surrounded by Keldeo EXs. You wouldn't. Well, you'd only put it in a deck that has like a bunch of Hydreigons.
Well, I don't know. Muscle Band kind of goes in any deck because all it does is add damage. Who doesn't want more damage?
No. I'm saying if you were doing an EX one.
Oh, okay.
It was EX exclusive, because it doesn't really matter what the card does, because you can just sort of form it to whatever deck. Like, it doesn't matter what the exclusions are because you're gonna only put it in a deck that has the inclusions. Like, you wouldn't put Double Rainbow Energy, thank you, in
an EX deck.
In an EX deck, you just wouldn't.
Remember, so I say this every time Niels comes over, but what if we're talking about cards that are only like evolution specific, like non-EX? What if we made those combo cards that I keep talking about only able on evolution books? You can't use them on EX. So what I'm talking about is a new type of card. So it's like a tool and an item sort of mixed together. So it's a card that you can only use when you're attacking, and it makes your attack do additional things. So like, let's say you're attacking with Swampert or whatever, and you're using Hydro Pump. In combination with your attack, so you say, I'm going to use Hydro Pump with, Life Drain or whatever. Like they'll be named after attacks and stuff. So so what it would do is it would be like, give heal 20 damage or whatever when you from when you attack. So it just basically gives your attack another, the little text underneath or whatever. It'll give it another one of those, but it can only be used by non-EX Pokemon. So that would give another boost to Stage 2. Talking about the Stage 2 epidemic that we have.
I think that's a good idea. What you could also do is there's these A-Spec cards called G-Booster and G-Scope.
Yeah. Oh, see, that's right. G-Booster is like exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, where it's like if you attach it to Genesect gets an extra attack. So just like Nick said, if you just make more of those, but not just Genesect exclusive,
and not Pokemon specific.
Yeah, just like give them an ability or something.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Give them Deluge, but for whatever type they are, and that's the thing.
Like you can add attacks abilities. Yeah. Yeah, they could be.
They'd have to nerf it a little bit. Like they wouldn't make it as good as G Booster is and G Spec.
Well, yeah. That's the other thing. They wouldn't be like totally broken. It would just do like something little. You know what I mean? Like
and if they had, they'd be A-Spec cards. They'd have to be A-Spec cards.
Yeah, exactly. So it just adds something a little extra. All right, let's just wrap it up with this last topic. It's only going to take a second, and I want to talk about reprints of cards. So,
good idea. That's a good topic.
So, reprints, if somebody's watching who doesn't know, it's when there's an older version of a card is out. Like, let's use Blastoise as an example. Blastoise is in Dark Explorers or something?
No, it was in... I think he's still... All of his versions are still in standard rotation, because he started in Boundaries Crossed, and then he got one in Plasma Freeze, and then he got one in Legendary Treasure.
Okay, well, so let's just say Blastoise was from, 3 years ago, whatever. He was in some really old expansion, and then in Plasma Freeze, or in a more recent expansion, they reprinted the exact same card, so it has the same text, he has the same health, same ability, like everything's exactly the same except for the artwork. The artwork can be different. But if everything on the card is exactly the same, you're still allowed to use that old card that has the same text and stuff, and it would still count in standard rotation. So that way, it's basically Pokemon's way of keeping cards alive, so to speak, so it doesn't, run out after every rotation. So I want to ask you, what cards do you think will be reprinted in the next set, and which ones you hope will be reprinted in the next set?
Here's one that I hope, right there.
Let me just...
it's a Venusaur. As we were saying before, Venusaur doesn't have really any special card like Blastoise does. Yeah. But I really like his ability, because it could be super useful for early game setup. It says once during your turn before you attack, you may search your deck for a Pokemon, reveal it, and put it into your hand. Shuffle your deck afterwards. Which can be really useful, and I want to see it come back, because Venusaur haven't really had any love besides his EX.
Venusaur really hasn't. And even his EX, nobody really uses the EX.
Nobody really uses Venusaur EX?
I don't think so, do they?
I don't know.
I haven't seen it, like, at all. But I don't know. I don't think it's a bad card. Jungle Hammer is good. I think it has Jungle Hammer, Jungle something. But it does like 90 damage and heals 60 or something crazy. So.
Oh my god, that's really good.
Or maybe it's 30 or something. I don't know. But it does damage and heals.
The tanky Pokemon isn't really the best Pokemon.
That's the thing, because even if he heals 60, next turn he's going to do 180 damage. So that's the problem. That's the problem with grass, because a lot of grass Pokemon have healing stuff. Yeah. And basically the whole point is they heal and then they give you a status effect, right? So the whole point that they're supposed to do is to drag on the game and poison you and keep healing while you're poisoned. But that doesn't work in this meta.
And you think it would fix it with bug types, but bug types suck.
Yeah, bug types really do. They're above dragon. Like they're right above dragon type. Poor bugs. All right, thank you guys for listening to the podcast. We had to cut it a little short today because of unforeseen circumstances, but we'll hopefully be back next week or in a month.
We'll talk more about reprints and stuff, do a little bit more research on what reprints we like.
Yeah, exactly. We'll come back learned, son, and better than ever, and we'll smell real nice for you.
Real nice.
But anyway,
your speakers.
Thank you guys. Just really quickly, Neil, do you have anything that you plan on releasing this week to Eyerus Gaming, or?
No.
No, okay.
Next week, though. Next week's going to be big.
Next week's the big one? All right, so I just did a booster box opening for Primal Clash, and there's also a Primal Clash Kyogre Trainer Kit opening out that just came out
Got a real good pull in that one.
Recently got a really, it's a real fun video, and there's also going to be, I'm going to be doing a little beginner's guide, a real quick little beginner's guide on how to get into Pokemon TCG from a beginner for a beginner.
Yeah.
So, thanks very much for watching, guys. We will see you next time, and peace on out. Bye-bye.
Bye.